Hello and welcome to another session where I share my journey, my thoughts, things that I've actually experienced when it comes to e-commerce. My name is Peter Moinero and I am from New Zealand, and I am coming at you live. If you are joining me live as well, put a hashtag live into the comments. But if you're watching this, the replay, then just put a hashtag replay. But I'd love to see your comments in any case, whether they're live or whether you're watching the replay. Just add some comments in there. What this is all about is really I want to try and sort of share some of what some of the thoughts that I've had when I first got into doing e-commerce way back in 2006, 2007, and maybe some of the thought processes that I had while I was doing it. And really, at that stage, I really didn't know what I was doing. It was a new thing for me. 2006, e-commerce in New Zealand was pretty much I don't know. It wasn't as common as what it was in the United States at that particular time. And even drop shipping was a new kind of thing as well. So it's hard to believe that even in in the 2000s, that something like e-commerce was still kind of, back in those times, was still kind of in its infancy. And I really do think now it's coming into its own. But the other thing is that because we've got a lot of assistance with AI, it's making the journey somewhat easier in a sense. Now, I say that because, yes, it is a lot more easier to actually get products and dropship products, to even get suppliers, but competition is high because it's so easy now. Competition is very, very high. So as I mentioned yesterday, it is about sort of setting yourself apart from the rest, and that's kind of like that comes into the whole framework of your mindset, right? Is how do you set yourself apart? Are you good enough to set yourself apart from the rest? Do you have what it takes to actually set yourself apart from the rest? And those are kind of the things that sort of play on your mind when you're actually getting into e-commerce, because you see other websites out there, you think, wow, that's really cool. They must be making a lot of money. What a great website, what a great idea. I can't even compare to that. And that's when the self-doubt starts creeping in. You need to catch yourself. You need to catch yourself comparing yourself to others or other people that are actually doing e-commerce and what their sites look like. Okay, because that is the point of difference. Because when you do that, then you start, and even when you start continuing your journey into e-commerce, those thoughts are going to remain if you don't do something about it. Now, what I mean about doing something about it is that you need to refocus on what it's a task. And it's apparent that there can be a lack of confidence that can actually incur when you start thinking that way. So what you want to try and do is you want to eliminate that or minimize that lack of confidence. And how do you do that? A lot of the times is that you really need to dig deep in yourself and really get your creative juices flowing so that you can come up with something that's original, or something that not many people are doing, but you've discovered it. Maybe a few others have discovered it, but the competition is low. All right, so you're not competing with a lot of people. You're only competing with a few. It may be an idea that no one else is doing, but you've thought of it first. That can happen. But at the end of the day, this is what you need to remind yourself, is that when to change the mindset, to switch it from not thinking that you're good enough to be able to produce a website that is as good as the next person's website, or you're not good enough to come up with a product that is actually unique, or you need to minimize those thought patterns. And so what you need to do is you need to start getting into action first and foremost. Take action and just get into finding a product. Now, more often than not, and this has happened to me a lot in the past, where you kind of get like a writer. It's similar to a writer's block. You just don't know what to what sort of product that you should get, or what sort of niche for that matter. You just don't know. You don't know. Like the pet niche has been used quite often in terms of pet accessories, dog accessories, and all that. But the thing is that what it comes down to is how you get yourself out there. Like at the end of the day, when you go to a supermarket, what motivates a buyer is not so much the product itself. It's more the packaging. It's what it looks like. It's that sort of buyer's perception. Wow, this, it's, and like even the price might be more expensive than the more budget one. And the thing is buyer's perception is that if it costs more, it must be much more better, right? And that's kind of like that's kind of a psychological thing with a lot of buyers. If it costs more, then it must be better. So when something costs too cheap, then people tend to think, oh, the quality must not be great. There's other lots of things, lots of thoughts come into your mind about that. Now, unfortunately, when you're in this sort of doing e-commerce sites, a lot of thoughts run through your mind. And I'm just going to go over some of the things that, like what are when building out an e-commerce site, what sort of mindset approaches or things that you should train your mind, or that you should be wary of, you should be utilizing in terms of when you're getting into that into building an e-commerce site. So one of the things is be customer-centric, have that customer-centric approach, right? Look at it from, as a customer, would you buy what you're selling? Is it something that you would probably use? Okay, not just because it looks good and everything else, but is it practical enough that some people would use, or most people would use? That's another thing. So you've got to look at it from the lens of the customers, through the customer's eyes. You need to look at it from their point of view. And if you can't do that, then get someone who can. Speak to your friends, your family, ask them. Okay, talk to them about it. Don't guide the conversation. All right. Don't sort of interject and say, well, I think this one's better. So why don't you like that one? Or, allow them to have their say about the product, if you like. Adaptability and learning. That's another one. You need to be able to adapt to the situation in terms of because the whole e-commerce landscape is always evolving, and you need to be able to adapt. And it's kind of like I alluded to yesterday, that there's still a lot of work when you're actually doing an e-commerce site. It's not like just a push the button and let it just run itself. It's not like that at all, because it's just like a website. If you've got a business website, you need to maintain it. You need to be looking at, is it getting enough traffic? Are people interested in this product or that service? And you can generally tell this by using Google algorithms in terms of like Google Analytics and all that sort of thing, and track where they go on your site. Same sort of scenario with e-commerce. If you've got various products up on your website, and a lot of people go to maybe 2 or 3 of your, say, 20 products that you may have up on your website, you have to really consider, is it worth actually having the other 18 or 17 products? Maybe you should swap them out. Or maybe you should do more promotion about it, or maybe you should change things a little bit. Maybe you should change the image that the people first see of the product. Maybe you should do that. There's a lot of A and B testing that you should be doing, and it may not be people don't like the product. The image, the first image that they see may not be something that draws them in, because people do look at things on the surface, right? We're kind of superficial in a lot of ways. We look at the surface value rather than what's behind it. And if we don't see an image that's sort of eye-catching, or we think we kind of can't make sense of it, we'll move on to the next thing and have a look at that. That's how it works, and you've got to understand this, because you've been your customer all the time. We're all customers. We're not just sellers. We are customers as well. And that's the mentality you have to have. You have to have the customer mentality. What's another thing? Okay, you got to be driven by data. Like I just mentioned before, you're using Google Analytics to actually tell you what that data is. And so you got to be driven by that data. You got to make changes where you need to. And this is something that I used yesterday, was resilience. Resilience and patience, but resilience is probably the key word, because resilience provides you that stickability, and that stickability is key. No matter what, you're going to make this work, because you know it can. Eventually it will get to that point where it is you're going to sell something, or you're going to sell, even if it's just one thing, it's going to get there. But you have to have that resiliency, and you have to have that stickability. We'll just have a quick break, because I just I see something in the chat. We've got Chanel. Good to have you, Chanel. Glad you can join us, and thank you for putting the hashtag live. So hopefully you've joined us from when I've gotten to the important part about them. Started talking about the mindset, but mindset is really, really key. You also have to have an innovation mindset too, as well. You need to be always exploring, various ideas in terms of how you can, how you can make your site a lot more innovative. Now, you don't have to do this straight away. You can do this over a period of time. There's no rule book that says that you must have everything in place. Yes, sir, right from the start. Awesome. Thank you, Chanel. And there's nothing in the rule book that says that you've got to have everything in place. You've got to have all your ducks lined up in a row. Everything needs to be perfect. There's nothing in the rule book that actually says that. In fact, it's probably the opposite, because it is a trial by fire, if you like. And I know some of you have heard that saying, or trial and error. But you need to actually get it out there in order to actually identify some of the things that don't work and some of the things that do work. Does it make sense? Of course it does. So what are some of the mind traps? What are some of the things that people allow themselves to sort of fall into when they actually are building a e-commerce site? And one of them is that perfection over progress. Have you ever heard that term before? Perfection over progress. A lot of us actually do this, and I've done this in the past. I'm guilty myself, and I'm still guilty of it. I will still do it now and then, okay? And what that means is that I'm trying to perfect my store before I actually put it out there to the world. Before I actually do, I want to have this amount of products. I want to make sure it's perfect. I want to make sure the information is correct. I want to, there's a lot of things that I want to do. Maybe the SEO is not actually built in, but I want to make sure I do that properly. So I'm going to spend, maybe 2, 3, 4 days doing that. And before you know it, what's happened is that you've gotten down the track maybe about, say, 3, 4, 5 weeks. It's not the time frame that you first envisaged. In fact, you probably envisaged that you're going to have it up within a week. But, the reality is that it's taking you a lot longer than that. So what can actually happen in the course of that time is that self-doubt starts to creep in. Second thoughts start to creep in. Things about, am I on the right track? Is this the right product? I don't really know. Am I going to get customers? Is this good enough? Does it make the grade? Am I going to be able to compete with the others? That all comes into it. All right. And sometimes what actually happens is people allow themselves to go through that so that they actually don't make it live, because of fear of being, and this is quite a common thing, a fear of people not liking your site, a fear of your product being rejected. People don't like to be told, oh, that's no good. That's, that product's, I don't like that product. Or, people are just not actually buying it. And so that can run through the mind before it even becomes an actual reality. So it's a real thing, believe me. I mean, I've done it myself plenty of times. What's another sort of common mind trap you can actually fall into? Overlooking customer feedback is a big one. All right. So, like when customers give bad feedback or, not very good reviews, and you totally ignore it and you don't actually respond to it because, you don't know how to respond to it. The best thing is that you do respond to it, and you respond to it in a very positive way. And, and it's all about customer service. And, and make their initial, I guess, comments, acknowledge it. Let them know that you've acknowledged it and that it is something that you're going to look into. And unfortunately, it's, you've been put in that, as a customer, you've been put into that situation. I'm going to look into it, and if there's something that I cannot do about it, we're gonna refund your money, or we're going to do something. Okay, we're going to literally do something. What people want to know is that you're going to do something about it, and you're going to do something about it now. That is more important than the faulty product. The fact that your service is that you're going to address it immediately, you're going to acknowledge the issue, and then you're going to do something about it. It all gives your site credibility. It gives you credibility. All right. Scaling too quickly. Like I said before, trying to get, and I said this yesterday as well, trying to get as many products up on your site, because you want to try and meet the entire audience, the whole entire market. You will never be able to do that. So there's no sense trying to sort of go through all that energy to try and get as much products up on your e-commerce site as soon as possible or before you launch, because it makes no sense. It really doesn't make any sense. And you're doing yourself an injustice, and you're just going to, in a lot of ways, you're going to wear yourself out. And in some cases, and this has happened to people, they've gotten to that point, they've put all that energy in it, and they've gotten to a point that they've actually worn themselves out, and they kind of sort of moved away from it, and they don't get as excited as what they were when they first started. And then it kind of sort of just sits like a white elephant until you're ready to go back to it. So that's one thing you really want to definitely avoid. Underestimating the competition. Yes, that can be done, because a lot of times you can actually see what the competition is doing and go, I can do better than that. And, you've really got to be mindful. In fact, it's the blanket rule should be, take care of your own backyard. Don't worry about anybody else. Take care of your own backyard. Don't worry about the competition. Competition is always going to be there. If you want to do this whole journey, be unique, stay on target, stay on track, keep to what you had planned, and then just make sure that you executed well. Okay, that's pretty much what my advice is on that. And it kind of sort of runs true when the next one mind trap is failure to plan for the long term. All right, you must have a plan. Obviously, you need to know what you're going to be doing. You need to know what type of in some ways you've got to have in your mind. Because this is how it all starts, right? Everything sort of gets created in the mind first, then you start putting pen to paper. But in your mind, you need to have a feel for what it looks like. And this is what I do all the time. I always have this sort of like, you have this vision, it's not quite clear, but you know that what it's going to look like and what it's the functionality. And that's kind of the pattern that I've been able to create for myself, is where I have this vision of what the site's going to look like, what the products are going to be about. And it's just a matter of creating that. Okay, you dream it up, and then you start to actually materialize it, and that's kind of what it's all about. Because that's how things are created. That's how inventions come about. You dream it in your mind. You've created it in your mind, and then it's time to make it a reality. And that's what you're trying to do here. So adopting a strategic and open mindset will, while being cautious of these common pitfalls, will set a solid foundation for your e-commerce business. So that's my take on things when in terms of mindset. I hope this is actually something that that you've actually found yourself to as well with some of the pitfalls, because if you haven't, then maybe you've yet to experience it. But definitely for me, I've been down that track so many times, time and time again, that now it's just become, well, okay, I know this is kind of I've been through this before. Now let's just move on and let's deal with the things that are actually sort of holding me back that I should be doing. All right, so that's how I run with it, because in the whole scheme of things, that's all they are. They're just actually conjured up thoughts in our head. They're not reality. Okay, and they're not reality. We conjure these things up in our mind, and sometimes we try to foresee the future before the future even happens, and that's a common mistake for not just with e-commerce, but with a lot of things. And so it's about actually recognizing that, and having a system where you deal with that, and you're able to sort of just not so much block it out, but just sort of like, oh, okay, that's okay. I'm thinking that way. Let's just start doing something more proactive. Let's start doing something that may get me one more step closer to where I want to get. And that's how it needs to be. You've got to be productive all the time. All right. When those sorts of things come into your head, just be productive. All right. Do something that gets you 1 inch closer to where you want to get, because every inch counts when it's about e-commerce or anything. All right. Okay. So that's kind of my take on mindsets for tonight. It's actually we're Wednesday evening here, 10:22 p.m. in the evening, and so it's kind of late in the evening for me. But I'm hoping to try and capture some of the audience around the world, and so sometimes I've got to do things a little bit later in the time zone. Before we, I want to sort of finish off. Before we, I want to just sort of share something with you before I go, and one of it is that. And I shared this yesterday, and I share it again. I'm just going to add my screen, but this here is my e-commerce and dropshipping course. So unlock the power of e-commerce and dropshipping. And if this is something that you want to do, then by all means come to the go to the URL, which is actually iSummit. Hang on, where we are. I can tell you in a sec. iSummit360.com/ecom. And if you go to that, and let me just put that in the chat actually. And you can actually purchase this course. And when you do, you will have access to it. Obviously, from then on, so you won't lose access to it. But it's what it is covering everything when it comes to e-commerce. The mindsets, the getting started, defining the product, the niche, and building out the store and everything else that goes with it in terms of SEO, marketing, social media, promoting it on social media. All those sorts of things that I use, the tools that I use, the resources that I tap into, that I use in order to, create a store, or a, even if it's actually just a single product. But it's kind of going through what I'm kind of taking you on the journey to what I do when I actually create a store. And at the end of it all, you want to be able to monetize it. You want to be able to get some revenue back on it, and build it up. Because at some point you may want to sell it. You may want to sell it later on, where it's collecting a fairly good revenue each month, and then you might think, you know what, I want to sell it. I want to move on to the next project. I want to do the next e-commerce store. You can do that. You could look at e-commerce as being like building out stores, getting it to make maybe $200-300 a month, and then sell it on. You probably, the fact that it's making revenue and there's potential to grow it and everything else, it becomes a turnkey operation, and then you can sell it on. All right. So there's all those sorts of things. But here's that link. I actually didn't put it in there. There you go. That's the link. It's iSummit360.com /ecom. And this is called the Unlock the Power of E-commerce and Dropshipping. And the price is $97 US. So, save that link if there's something that you think that you would need. And you can always refer back to it, by the way. And that's the whole beauty about it. You'll be able to refer back to it and guide you through your e-commerce journey. All right, guys. So that's me. I'm going to share more tomorrow night with you, and I'm going to be doing that over the next few more days. So I will be seeing you. I'll be seeing everybody then tomorrow night. Okay. Until then, take care. Bye for now.
Hi, this is Simon Liang with GrooveAsia.cm. Are you already a part of the #1 community in the world? If not, do so right now for free training and support, along with live sessions to help you succeed. Start now by joining us in our private Facebook group and get more exclusive video content on our YouTube channel. Make sure to like and subscribe with notifications turned on for all updates. Join our community right now. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will see you on the inside at GrooveAsia.cm.